a special meeting of the Helotes City Council on November 9th, 2021. It is 7 p.m. We're going to stand for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. Pastor had some plans here today, so I'll be giving the invocation today. Father God, we just come before you and thank you for this opportunity to be servants. Lord God, you sent your son, Jesus, and he was your son, but yet he was a servant to mankind at the same time. And Lord God, as an example of that, we stand before you as servants for our fellow mankind, and we pray that you would give us wisdom to make good decisions and give us a peace to live amongst ourselves and to continue your work and to serve our fellow mankind. In your name we pray. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. All right. Okay, well, we are going to have to postpone item number 2, which is a recognition of one of our employees due to a scheduling conflict. So we'll pull item number 2 and postpone it. Brings us to citizens to be heard. Do we have anybody signed up for citizens to be heard?
No, Mr. Mayor, nobody signed up.
Okay. That brings us to consent agenda, items number 4 to 6. Looking for a motion and a second to approve items number 4 through 6 as written.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion we approve item number 4 as written.
4 or 4 through 6?
4 through 6.
Okay. And second?
I'll second that, Mayor.
Any questions or issues? We really don't require any questions. Nothing need to be pulled. No discussion needed. All in favor of approving items number 4 through 6 as written, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. This brings us to the mayor's report. I have a couple of updates to let everybody know about. We have redesigned our city website. We've included some improved navigation, some layouts, some colors. There will be a few additional items added as we are taking a look at adding additional lists and some vendor lists that we're working on, but it's best viewed, of course, on a computer browser, and as you can see, it's scrolling up the screen. A little bit easier identification of common spots we need to go to, like marketplace, of course, permits and meetings in our calendar, and finances. Before it seemed to be a little bit sometimes hard to get around and find exactly what you're looking for, and so what we're trying to do is continually improve the navigatability. Is that right? There we go. Navigatability of our website.
Navigation.
The navigation and make it
User acceptable.
All right, here we go. Moving on, we have some important dates for everybody to mark on your calendars. We have a Veterans Day concert this Sunday, November 14th. It's going to be at the Helotes Fire Station, and that will be at 3 p.m., correct? And we're going to have a wonderful time there with our Helotes Community Band and honoring veterans. Then we're going to have the lighting of the lights Friday evening, December 3rd, here at City Hall. Also, there's going to be a first responders breakfast Saturday, December 11th at the Helotes Fire Station. And remind everybody, go ahead and mark on your calendars, December 11th, that evening, we're going to have the Hill Country Christmas Parade. Would like now this time to bring one quick summary on our year-end municipal financial summary. As you know, it has been a focus to increase the financial health and stability of our city. And just to give a quick, of course, we're starting the audit process right now. We'll have those audited financials in January, February-ish time. But as a preliminary report, we did finish out the year with $7.235 million worth of revenue, and we were able to adjust some expenses, and we're capped out here. It looks at $6.5 million. So we had a surplus this year of 729,000, which goes into our reserves. That leaves us right now with we started in May with 2.4 months worth of reserves, and we're now at just over 4.1 months of reserves. And that is encouraging as we bring back, put ourselves in a much better financial state to be able to handle any emergencies that come our way. At this time, I'd like to take a personal note and recognize, we have talked about being Helotes proud, and every once in a while, we have some people to really celebrate, and one of them is our very own officer, Steve Ortiz. He just recently entered the Wings of Strength competition at the Henry B. Gonzalez Center downtown at the end of September. He competed in the men's physique and took second place in the Masters over 40 and fourth in the Open. I believe he got down to, was it 3% body fat? 4%. I see the pictures, it's unbelievable, and that is an amazing feat, and just appreciate you setting the example and encouraging other people to get involved in actively staying fit and being an example for the city. And right with that, we'd like to acknowledge Sergeant Higgins, who also competed in the San Antonio Classic on October 23rd in the Scottish Rite Theater. And he placed second in the Heroes division and third in the Masters over 40 and fourth overall in the division. So excellent job, and appreciate your dedication to fitness and leading in that way in health and fitness in the police department for our city. Appreciate you. This is going to bring us to item number 8. Looking for a motion a second to discuss and take action on item number 8 as written.
So Mayor, I move we discuss, take action on agenda item number 8.
Okay. Councilmember Sanders, second.
I'll second.
Second by Massey. Greg?
So there's not a whole lot to say here. I mean, went through all the support material that came from Fair County voting organization. So it is what it is. So yeah, we support the results of that election.
Yes, I agree. And it is gratifying that we are doing actually well financially and don't necessarily needed the money for this. But I will say this, I was looking at the percentage of sales tax that we get. And I know that the EDC gets 0.5%. And my suggestion is perhaps to cut that in half. I don't know how this would be done in a legal format because the citizens voted for that, but perhaps we could make that, because they have almost $2 million. And, you know, I just think that if the city could use half that amount or the 0.25%, that would be a good place to get it from.
I agreed, and we're a fine line of two different topics here without straying over to that secondary topic. It is an interesting and agreeable point you bring up. Purpose of EDC is certainly out there, and the needs of a community and its EDC change over time as the city fills out, and so that'd certainly be a worthwhile topic for discussion and exploration. As far as the city's take on it, there was some concern that was brought to me about the wording of it. Of course, for those that were concerned, the wording is what was required by state laws as far as what has to be on there, but a lot of people were concerned thinking that we were adding 1.25%, and really we were only looking at expanding from 1 to 1.25%, which is what is allowed by state law and what all our surrounding communities are. There was also a question on what the needs were, and we were looking at adding some staffing and addressing issues we have at PD as far as the employment landscape certainly has changed, but we are here to support the will of the people. What I am proud of is that we had a significant increase in voter turnout for a election that didn't have to do with council members or mayor. I'm very pleased that we have community engagement at the level that came out. That speaks volumes, that people are coming out and having their voices be heard. And so we take that and we move forward and we operate with what we have and take a look at perhaps other sources of income to be able to do and make adjustments with the needs of the community as they grow and as they change. Let's say that change from economic growth to sustaining and monitoring our population. So if there's any other questions, comments on this, okay, so the action item here is to accept the results of the election. All in favor of approving item number 8 as written, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Looking for a motion and a second for item number 9 as written.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we discuss and take action on it, item number 9 is written.
Councilmember Massey is a motion. Second by
I'll second.
Councilman Merchant.
So I'm looking at the, I guess, resolution. We had put forth Marion Mendoza, our city administrator. And so I noticed that there's this list of candidates. So basically, we're giving our 5 votes to Marion.
So
Is that how that works?
how this is written, we have to take action and cast our city's 5 ballots on a candidate. We have the list of candidates, and what we are doing is deciding, and it's up to you to decide who you
So we
vote for.
nominated her and now we're
We
voting.
nominated her, so it would make sense to select. but-
Well, I am selecting Marion Mendoza and I would like to give her our 5 votes.
Okay. Is there any other,
No, I concur. Absolutely.
anybody else that wants to suggest anything? No? Okay. Well, then,
More to do.
any questions or discussion on our selection of votes? Okay.
And Mr. Mayor, my only question was, do we vote that way or do we do it individually? I mean, I just don't know what the procedure is. Like we did,
It doesn't have to be a roll call vote.
okay.
Doesn't have to
that
be
was
roll
my only
call,
question.
but what you can do is suggest, we want 4 votes for this person, 1 vote for that person. We can discuss and then we can take action on the overall votes. But if there's nobody that suggested anything different than all 5 for Marion, then we can vote and take action on that item as
That's
that
good.
result.
Fine.
So if there's no other discussion, we will be taking action and the vote will be to cast the city's 5 allotted votes for Marion Mendoza to serve on the District Board of Directors for a 2-year term beginning January 1st, 2022. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations on your votes. Looking at item number 10, this will be a second and final reading, an action of the resolution on the City Council to approve amendment number 2 to the City of Helotes Economic Development Corporation bylaws by revising Article 2, Board of Directors, Section 2.1, Powers, Number, and Terms of Office. Seeing as though this is a reading, this does not take, we do have action on this one. So we're looking for motion and a second.
Mr. Mayor, I motion that we conduct the second and final reading and take action on item number 10 as written.
Okay, motion by McCrossan, second by,
I'll second.
which is good. And thank you, both Councilmembers McCrossan and Merchant, for bringing this item through its entire process. Councilman, have comments?
Just echoing what I said last time, appreciate everybody's input. I think it was very transparent. I think all the stakeholders were involved and it was really, it was a positive experience for me. So I thank everybody for all the work we put into this. Yeah, I agree. It was very nice to see how this whole process worked and come to fruition. So hopefully we can agree that this is a good thing to do.
I know at onset, this was something that we knew needed to change. I'm probably the only elected politician that was seeking to reduce my power as elected office. And it did seem that in this particular case, as several others that we're maybe working on, is that the only people that could serve or be appointed by the mayor. One comment that I might make for consideration in this final reading and action on is that the current, as it is written, it is the board from the EDC will be providing 2 nominations for a spot. And that is perfectly fine for me. I don't see any issue with that. The only suggestion that I had from this whole process was simply that if there is by chance a third candidate that perhaps got overlooked by the board, for an opportunity for the mayor to be able to include that as an additional, not a sole, but as an additional for consideration. Of course, the vote ultimately comes to city council as just part, not certainly a dilution, because it doesn't have to be one person's deciding, right? But as a possibility, and that was the only suggestion, is a possible consideration. Of course, that is not a sticking point by any stretch of the means, and it is certainly, it is written.
May I say something?
Please do.
I understand what you're saying, and the thing is, the mayor has certain powers inherent in being mayor, and I think that if you knew that a position was open, I would see no problem with you telling the director or the secretary, hey, so-and-so wants, would like to, I don't see, because they still have to be vetted through the board of directors. So I don't think that we necessarily have to put it in the bylaws. I think that it's just something that, something that would be naturally something that would be done anyway. And so.
That's the case.
Yeah, I would think so. And before, the bylaws were changed before, we had the board of directors and what would happen would be, the board of directors would meet, they would discuss, applicants would come in, and the board would always, and sometimes the mayor would make a suggestion, but I don't know, I just think that it would muddy the waters to throw that in at the last minute.
And it's certainly fine. I'm actually very agreeable to that. It was just it was a thought and discussion that had been brought to my attention, and so I have now aired it out, so it can have been talked about and addressed. I think certainly there's not an issue with the way it is written, and certainly has been gone through the entire process.
Right,
and you're absolutely right. There is, for the record, for those that had wondered why this move was going in this direction or why it was, that's an excellent response to that, and thank you for highlighting that. There is the opportunity for the mayor to be able to talk with the executive director, et cetera, to be able to make people identified. So thank you for bringing that up.
Certainly. I think that's the case for everybody on the council here, and for the administrator, and for those even on that board of directors for the EDC. I mean, they can, certainly anybody.
Anybody can have input into this.
Sure.
But I think
I would welcome that.
the board of directors would have the final say on which two nominees, if there's going to be two,
Right.
to send to council after all of the consultation.
Correct. And of course, the final level of checks and balances is the city council.
Right here.
For those that are unfamiliar with the process, the board nominates, and it's the city council that votes on those two nominations.
So I agree with my colleagues 100%. You have that latitude in order to push your nominee forward. And I agree. I think, putting that stipulation at the last minute would just, might be a little problematic. So I recommend we stay the course as written.
No problem. I'm just glad that we were able to get that clarified. Any other questions? Issues? Excellent. All in favor of approving item number 10 as written, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. This brings us to item number 11, which we are going to have to pull. Just this afternoon, ACOG had contacted us and let us know that there is no funding available for us, but we are more than welcome to apply next year. So we're going to pull item number 11. There's no action to take. Brings us to our staff report for the Tour de France cycling event, which is scheduled to be held on April 10th in 2022 as part of Fiesta San Antonio 2022. And with us, we have a local representative of the effort, and I believe online we have one of our, from Canada, no? Is he back in Canada?
Yes.
That's Mark with us. And so we'll turn it over to staff for a report on what's going on and the status of the event that will be rolling through Helotes, literally rolling through Helotes.
So we were approached by organization to be part of this Tour de France, La Tap Tour de France in San Antonio. They are going to be part of the whole Fiesta event that will happen in April. And we will be at the tail end of that event, which will happen on Sunday, April 10th. And it will start at UTSA and come up through I-10 area and then eventually come up 16. And then what they want to do is, as you can see, is when they come back from Bandera area, is come back and come through Old Town, cut across, and then go back up 16 and go through Gray Forest. Now, all this is still tentative with approvals from, of course, TxDOT, San Antonio, ourselves, and Gray Forest. This is a tentative route. The route that we have listed here is what would affect Helotes, and everything is turnkey where the event coordinator is paying for the barricades, the police officers, the volunteers. They will also look at contacting the private owners of properties to be able to have their first aid and stop station, as well as other property owners, because they also want to have an event type thing there for the spectators to be able to, while they're waiting for the cyclists to come in. They're looking at the one lane closure from 9:45 to 2:30, and then they open that back up. I will let them finish telling you with any questions you have, because they are the ones that putting the event together.
So our first responders, though, will be involved, correct?
Yes.
Okay. That's because at first when I heard you, Marion, I thought somebody else was doing all that, and I thought, since it's going to be right through the heart of Helotes, that our police force and I would imagine our EMT and fire folks, will they be just sitting here waiting on the station, or do you envision that we would have something out there?
No, they'd be waiting on the station. They have their own first aid, you know what I mean, area, but ours would just be in the station. Now, what we usually do is when they pull a permit, we tell them how many they have, how many police officers they need, if they need EMT and so forth. They can hire our own EMT. Our fire and police are definitely, our fire and EMS can be hired. We do suggest also they we have our police and fire. Now, we do not have enough police officers while people are on duty to hire all our police officers, so we would work with them to hire some of ours, some of Northside, some outside sheriffs and so forth.
You also said something about permits, so is this considered, even though Helotes isn't hosting it, is there a permit requirement for the city of Helotes? Does it tie into a special event?
No, they are the ones actually applying for the permit. We're just having them, they want to be able to, the reason I brought it to council is because this is a huge event.
Yeah.
And I felt that this is important to have input from the council to know that they are looking at pulling it in a permit to have such an event here, because there will be road closures for a good amount of period, plus the coordination that they're going to have with TxDOT and other surrounding cities.
I think it's a great idea right now with what little I know. And I think most of you know, if you're ever down in Old Town in the mornings on Saturdays and Sundays, this is really a starting point for a lot of road bikers that are heading out to Gray Forest or down Bandera Road. So I'm not talking about branding per se, but to have a world-class event pass through Helotes, it just reinforces, those folks that come out here on the weekends and actually want to use Helotes. Those weekend warriors that, still think they're young. Not that I know any of those folks. But I think it's great. One last thing, and maybe they sent you this probably. I'm trying to figure out why they would be on Old Scenic Loop, because that's a dead end. So I was just looking at the road map here. I think they probably meant Scenic Loop proper.
And maybe, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So, Mark, if we engage Mark here a little bit, Mark, we just saw a advertisement. Actually, it was a nice commercial, and that was during a sporting event. I believe it might have been last week's Monday Night Football, entirely possible. for the top, and just really highlighted that it's really the only event, Tour de France event in the U.S. this year. Is that correct? And maybe you might be able to tell us just a little bit, because Helotes is going to be a stopping point on this proposal, correct? And so maybe you can just give us a little information how you envision that happening and the times you're expecting riders to be mostly rolling through Helotes.
Sure, sure. Can everybody hear me so far?
Yes, sir.
All right. Yeah. First, thanks everyone for allowing us this opportunity here to speak on our event. But a little bit of history. L'Etape by Tour de France. As most people know, Tour de France is the premier cycling event, worldwide. And L'Etape, which stands for stage in French, has been around for many decades also. There's over 26 events in 20 countries all over the world. And you are correct. This event or our event will be the first in the States next year. And then our plan is to expand from there. So some more, a couple events more towards the western portion of the U.S. and then more central. And then of course we'd like to see San Antonio continue on for many years. So and of course we're going to have a bunch of events in Canada also. So, but yeah, to answer your question, yes, first one in the States next year, and we're anticipating anywhere from 2,000 to 3,000 cyclists. And anybody who cycles just a little bit, like I say, knows about Tour de France. And when they hear that, I mean, that's the brand, right? So we're hoping that'll attract a lot of cyclists. And, being from Canada, I'm not familiar with the area, but Dennis can probably speak to this better. But the San Antonio cycling community and the surrounding areas they're very excited about our event coming to town. So that's a good thing. And cyclists love this kind of thing, right? Cyclists love to ride with other cyclists, and the more the merrier, so to speak. So, and as far as I'm looking at the map here you have on the screen there, yeah, the plan is to go up Scenic Loop Road, not Old Scenic Loop, because apparently that is a dead end. So, and as far as going through Old Town Helotes, we were there at last month, beginning of the month, and beautiful area you guys have there. And as a cyclist myself, I mean, that's a real selling feature, right? Especially if there's an aid station there, you stop, hang out for a bit, and continue on. And as somebody from out of town, it's something. I'm gonna, the thought is, hey, I'm gonna come back and check this out. When instead of just quick bike ride through, maybe I'll stay an extra few days, or next year when I come back, I'll plan it around that. I can spend some time in the area, that kind of thing. So we see it as a win-win for everybody. So as far as us, the company I work for, the person I work for, we've been organizing events like this for many years. In the States, Canada, in Europe. So Marion had a concern earlier. We've been emailing back and forth. But we've run events, large cycling events on very busy highways in the past. So, and yes, we hire all the people we need, whether that's sheriffs, police, trained flagging people, all the signage, barricades, pylons, cones, that's all provided for. And the route is very well mapped out. The cyclists know the route. It's very safe. Again, we've been doing it for many years and never an issue. So, I mean, you can't control every single thing. I mean, when it comes to vehicles, I mean, there's always one or two, but the other thing you have to realize is, when you have that many cyclists on a road, people are going to realize, well, there's something going on. So, 99.9% of people are going to behave. So, so as far as timelines go, we have 3 different distances. The only distance coming through Helotes will be the 100-mile distance. So you're not going to have 3,000 cyclists coming through over the course of the day. You're going to have maybe, just based on, past experiences, let's say 3,000 come, you might have anywhere from, let's say 1,000 to 1,200. So maybe a third or so as a max of the amount of people coming through. And again, they're not going to come all through in one big bunch, right? So by the time they get to you guys, they're more than 80% through the course. So they're going to be really broken up. The first people through are going to be the, I guess, the guys who really take this seriously, even though there's no professionals involved. They're going to come the earliest, and they're going to be on their way. And there's going to be a portion of the day where it'll just be like steady traffic. You'll have, groups of, 3 to 4, 10, 12, 15, maybe up to 30, 40 cyclists coming through. And it'll just be steady like that. And then once we get closer to, around 1:32, closer to the end of the ride, it'll just be, the last few stragglers coming through. And we have a sweep person or vehicle, if you will, that chases down the last cyclist. And once that last cyclist is through, whether it's at 2 p.m. or the prior to the deadline, that's when we open up the road. So we're resting the road closure till 2 p.m. And if the last cyclist comes through at 1:30, well, then we open the road up once he's done, right? But at 2 p.m., that's kind of the cutoff. And the rule is that the cyclists have to, we don't force them off the course per se, but they're made aware that there's support. The support is no longer available. So either way, the roads are open at 2 p.m. So, and then we pack everything up and we're gone. And, by that night and, Monday morning for sure, you'll never know we were even there. So,
Mark, one of the concerns that's been brought up is, of course, it's got to be approved through TxDOT. That's beyond our control.
Of course.
But when you come out of Old Town and then basically make a U-turn and go back north on Bandera Road, cutting across 4 lanes of highway without a stop sign, it's going to be a tough challenge to stop traffic for every bicycle that comes through. And of course, this is, I'm assuming, a timed event, right? So they're kind of stop and go out there, only realize that the riders are going to have to dodge traffic themselves as they cut across there, or package up in groups and go across in groups, or what's the thought process there?
Well, no, the idea for that particular intersection, that's where we'll have our, the sheriffs, that we hire, with the cars, with the lights going. There'll be signage. We're going to request a reduction to the speed limit. So when cyclists come through, traffic will be stopped, right? Because this is technically a race. It is a timed event. In a case like this, we'll be requesting the permit to allow cyclists the right of way. So again, as I said earlier, it's not going to be like there's 300 or 400 cyclists coming through all at one time. There'll be gaps. There'll be lots of gaps. And again, we've run many events like this, and that's just how we do it. And unfortunately, you have intersections like this, right? I run an event here in where I am locally. I mean, it's nowhere near the amount of people. We have about 500, right? And there's a lighted intersection where we hire the local police force, and they basically control that intersection. And it can get very busy on a Sunday because, there's several churches around there. So, at the heart of the event, there's lots of cyclists coming both directions, and they will stop traffic. But there's enough breaks and gaps between cyclists that traffic will be allowed to flow, and people will get to where they need to go, albeit they might be delayed for a few minutes, right? But as far as the cyclists go, no, we have to provide 100% safety for the cyclists as far as that goes. So they are racing. Athletes tend to be very focused when they are, and I mean, they're aware that it's not a closed course, so there is traffic. They're made aware of that. But again, if you've ever attended an athletic event, or worked it or whatever, like say, athletes tend to be very focused, and they'll expect not to be looking out for cars at that area. So that intersection you're referring to will be very well controlled, And we'll hire the necessary personnel to make sure that, there's not going to be any conflicts between cyclists and the vehicles. So.
Any questions at this point?
How many people did you say you think would come? I was a little confused about that.
Talking 1,200 cyclists will be on the 100-mile course, and that's the only course that'll be coming through Helotes.
1,200.
1,200 cyclists, plus or minus.
Yeah.
3,000 total in all their events, but there's 4 different courses, and only the 100-mile course comes through Helotes.
Okay.
That's correct. Yeah. And that's just a rough estimate right now, right? It could be less, it could be a little more, but that's what we're anticipating. So.
Are you having media coverage on this?
I don't know. I see Michael Brown's just joined us. That'd be a better question for Michael. I don't believe so, other than, the local media might be on the news later that day, but
Sure.
nothing live.
Okay.
Hey guys, I apologize. I was late. I was just running home from one of my kids' activities. But just to jump in there on media, obviously, the Tour de France is one of the largest sports properties in the world. So we will be having social media presence as far as getting message out. I don't know if some of you have seen already our ads for the event on local TV stations. But yeah, we do a ton of media around it. So we do have some media outlets that will be flying in for the event. Bicycling Magazine, Velo News, pretty endemic, media outlets. But there'll be media coverage, and also it gets pushed through the Tour de France's media outlets as well.
Okay. Well, as far as our end, if anything comes up, we'll certainly continue the discussion. Of course, I reiterate the TxDOT issue is a whole separate, different group that has to be involved, as well as Gray Forest and others. But as far as the city of Helotes, we're excited to be a part of this event. And any questions that come up, of course, we'll reach out to you, Dennis, and as your local point of contact. There's no action at this point. It was really just more of a report and an update. Thank you, Mark, and I'm sorry, the other gentleman's name?
Michael Brown.
Mike, okay. Mike, thank you very much. Where in Canada are you all from?
St. Albert, Alberta. It's Edmonton area. It's kind of middle of the province, pretty far north there. We don't have any snow here yet, but it's starting to get a little colder. So I just have one quick comment on the everybody's been referring to permits. In my communications with TxDOT there, it's not so much a permit per se, but for example, from the city of Helotes, it's more or less, my understanding is we get a letter of authorization from you, say, yes, we're aware of your event. We're allowing you to come through and do it at this time and day. And I send all that information to TxDOT, and it's just basically, they say, yeah, okay, you're good to go. So I don't believe in actual, my understanding is they're not an actual like physical permit per se, more of just, everybody's made aware of it. So once this is, I guess, approved, for lack of a better term, from the city of Helotes, what I would need from the city is a letter, on city letterhead saying, yes, we're aware of the event and we have no issues with it, or words to that effect. And then I simply forward that to TxDOT.
So the letter that you're seeking in our form would be in fact an approved permit, because it is under our ordinances would qualify as a special event. When we're closing down a local road within our city limits, it requires a special event permit.
Sure.
So your letter would be an issue approved permit, which would carry with it the authority to, and the acknowledgement of everything you're saying, would it would require special per our ordinances.
Okay.
But that's not certainly not an arduous task to complete, but it is something that in order to keep in line with our ordinances, that would be our requirement to process that. But that's something that we can work with Dennis here in processing, and if we need to send off for appropriate signatures or whatever, that's something we can handle here.
I've actually sent the form up to Michael, so he has the form.
Okay.
It's just a matter of completing it. I think we wanted to get to this point where everyone was aware and say, okay, now let's go. So I think the permit was that certainly, the form will not be a problem.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you heard that, but Dennis was saying he sent up the form to you all, and that's the process. And we'll proceed with that, and this is just really an informational, let everybody be aware of what's going on, and they can get excited about the global event that's coming through our town.
Right. This is exciting to have a world-class event come through Helotes.
The local looks growing up.
It's a cycling Super Bowl, huh?
Yep.
All right.
We think so, yeah.
Okay, well, without any additional comments or issues that need to be brought up, we'll go ahead and adjourn. It is 7:40. We are adjourned.
Thank you, everybody.
Gentlemen. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.